Thank you very much, Honorable Mananiso, the Chairperson for the Select Committee on Security and Justice. Books before boys for our girls. Honorable members, the next speaker has requested, okay. The next speaker, she's going to give us remarks on the theme, Women Parliamentarians for Global Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability. And that's Honorable Liezl van der Merwe, the National Assembly Portfolio Committee, Chairperson on Women, Youth and Persons with Disability. Honorable van der Merwe.
No, Chairperson, I think the podium was made for a man because I'm just as tall as this podium, so that's why I wanted to speak from my seat. But thank you very much, Chairperson of this session, Honourable Pule, the Deputy Speaker of our National Assembly, Dr. Annelie Lotriet, our Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities and Abstentia, the Chairperson of the Multi-Party Women's Caucus, Honourable Dundwa, and her steering committee, the presiding officers of the South African Parliament and parliaments represented here today, leaders of delegations of various countries present, as well as the delegations from the IPU and PAP, honourable colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Chairperson, throughout history, women in leadership have been powerful agents for change. Our resilience, wisdom and courage have transformed our societies such as South Africa and challenged the status quo. We rise today to speak for the women and girls of South Africa who have entrusted us to be their voices, and for the women and girls worldwide whose fight for dignity, safety and equality persists. For despite remarkable progress, women representing over half of our humanity remain held back, disproportionately affected by poverty, inequality, conflict, climate change, and violence. Their struggles threaten their very safety, dignity, and futures. These issues demand a comprehensive, united response rooted in our unwavering solidarity. So as we gather here today with a shared purpose, we recognize and celebrate the invaluable role women parliamentarians must play in shaping a more just, equitable and sustainable world. The theme, Women Parliamentarians for Global Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, is not only timely, but it is a clarion call to action. First, it is a clarion call to action to end poverty. Nearly 70% of those living in extreme poverty are women and girls. Across nations, they lack access to basic education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. Their unpaid labor, often invisible and uncompensated, sustains families and communities, trapping them in cycles of poverty and inequality. We must introduce in our parliaments measures to recognize and value unpaid care work performed by women and girls. We are duty-bound as parliamentarians, not only to craft laws that break these cycles, but to ensure protections, decent work, and economic empowerment for all. Second, colleagues, today must be a clarion call to action to confront persistent gender inequality. Despite progress, discriminatory laws continue to hinder gender inequality. Then, as the IPU had mentioned, women's representation in political leadership remains inadequate. We only occupy less than a quarter of parliamentary seats worldwide. Our voices must rise in our parliaments to challenge these, while we also advocate for gender-responsive budgeting and expanding women's participation in decision-making. Third, today must be a call to champion education for all. Over 122 million girls are out of school, especially in conflict zones. Female illiteracy and low levels of education continue to hinder sustainable development. and it perpetuates cycles of poverty. Education is not merely a right, it is a powerful key to uplift and empower our communities. We must push for policies that eliminate, for example, barriers such as child marriage and period poverty. Fourth, today is also a call to action to protect women and girls in conflict zones. Today we honor and remember the brave struggles of many women in conflict zones, but they need more than just our solidarity. Previous G20 speaker summits reaffirmed that women's leadership are essential foundations for sustainable peace and security. And as we demand peace, we must also demand that women are part of negotiations and humanitarian responses, safeguarding their rights and elevating their leadership. Fifth, today must also be a call to action to end gender-based violence. This scourge remains a national crisis here in South Africa. The portfolio committee that I lead, the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, continues to put this fight into sharp focus. We oversight our national strategic plan on gender-based violence and femicide. We will soon identify candidates of civil society and business to serve on South Africa's first National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. And from a parliamentary level, my portfolio committee will soon lead Parliament's very first statutory rape inquiry. But 1 in 3 women globally has experienced physical or sexual violence. This grim reality stains our collective conscience. We must ensure accountability and end impunity for perpetrators of gender-based violence through strengthened legal frameworks, effective prosecution, and survivor-centered justice systems. Lastly, today must also be a call to action to close the gender pay gap. Globally, women continue to earn 20 to 30% less than men for comparable work. The gender pay gap is still pervasive in our labor markets, and it must be addressed. Bridging this divide requires bold reforms, equal opportunities, and cultural shifts. We must champion these through law and leadership. Colleagues, this conference calls on us not just to identify the problems, but to identify the solutions. We are entrusted with the future of the young women and girls of our respective countries. We must therefore support each other in efforts to champion gender equality. To this end, we must lead in our parliaments to see the following: eliminating of all forms of discrimination against women, not just in law, but in practice. The ring fencing of funding and resources to eradicate gender inequality. We must promote gender-sensitive policies and budgeting. We must see to climate policies that are gender-sensitive. We must foster inclusive governance where women's voices guide decision-making. Peace initiatives must include women at the forefront. And we must hold each other accountable through transparency. Honourable members, this is our moment to act. And let me repeat this. This is our moment to act. We are and must be catalysts for change. Our presence in decision-making chambers is vital as it amplifies women's voices and ensures that gender perspectives are integrated into all levels of governance. Let us remember that gender equality, it's not just a women's issue. It is a fundamental human rights issue and a necessary condition for sustainable development. When women are empowered, our societies thrive. When women participate fully, economies grow, peace is fostered, and environments are protected. Today, I call upon all of us, members of Parliament representing our various countries, policymakers, and stakeholders, to unite in solidarity. Let us forge alliances across nations, cultures, and sectors, for our solidarity is our strength. We must harness this. In conclusion, I wish to welcome all of you to our beautiful South Africa. May you have a very wonderful conference. And remember that we hold the collective power to forge a future where every woman and girl can thrive in dignity, freedom, and opportunity. It must be our generational mission to build a world where women and girls have got equal opportunities, safe spaces, and voices. A world that reflects our collective aspirations for solidarity, equality, and sustainability. The South African Parliament will play its part. It's time to act. Thank you.